Non expectations. Osho said, live without expectations and there will be no frustrations. Most of the time, the situation controls us rather than we taking charge of the situation, which makes our happiness and sadness depend on others. Isn't it slavery? Is it not slavery if another person or object can decide whether you will be happy or unhappy? Slavery gives us nothing but misery. Only freedom will bring us happiness. In other words, our expectations are making us slaves. So far as we are in the clutches of desires and expectations, we are bound to suffer. Case Study 1. Once, a couple came to meet me for premarital counseling. The groom was a highly qualified and well-off person. The bride was a good-looking, working woman. In person, I asked the groom, "What kind of life partner do you expect in your life?" He replied, "I want to marry a woman who is good-looking, decent, well-cultured, broad-minded, working, and who can also take care of the family and can behave in good manners with all family members." Next, I asked the bride separately, "What kind of groom do you want?" She said, "I want to marry a person who is handsome and working in a good position. He should have a good property and bank balance. He should be broad-minded and understand my feelings. He should give freedom to me." If one beggar meets another beggar, what will happen? Beggary will increase or decrease. No one wants to sacrifice, everyone just expects something from others. Moral: expectation leads to suffering. Case Study 2. A few years before I met one of my friends, he was very disappointed and complained to me about his niece. He had taken care of her just like his daughter. Whatever her wishes were, he fulfilled them. I wasn't expecting anything from her. She married a person from another community without my knowledge, he explained. If you see this case study, you will understand that the man was unhappy with her. He was telling me he didn't have any expectations from his niece. In his opinion, monetary benefit is the only expectation, but in reality, we expect many things from others. The gentleman in this case study desired that his niece seek his permission before marrying. This is also one type of expectation. Every action we take on a daily basis is motivated by high expectations. Selfless service rendering is very rare. Conclusion: misery just follows expectations. Story of Farmer, 99 Club. A king of the realm, who had a very big kingdom, was never happy. He was always tense and felt insecure at all times. One day, as he came to a peaceful scene while riding a horse along with his minister, he saw a poor farmer singing a song and seemed very happy. He asked the minister, "I have a large kingdom, but I am not happy. What is the secret to his happiness?" Minister replied, "My lord, this poor farmer has not joined the 99 Club yet." King asked, "I do not understand what you mean." The minister stated, "I would explain everything to you in a few days if you give me 99 gold coins." The king gave 99 gold coins to that minister. The minister kept the 99 coins inside a bag and went near the farmer's house. With a smiling face, the farmer was chatting with his wife. The minister took out that bag of gold coins and put it outside the farmer's house. When the farmer came outside, he saw the bag. He opened it curiously and saw gold coins. He called his wife and started counting them. Altogether, they found 99 coins. The farmer was disappointed to find only 99 coins. He wondered where the 100th coin was. He wanted to earn 1 gold coin and keep it in the bag to make it 100. But his earnings were very low, and even meeting both ends was a big problem. He began working hard to earn more so he could buy 1 gold coin. He forgot about his song and stopped spending time with family members, too. After a few days, the minister brought the king back to the spot where the farmer lived. The king noticed that this was the same farmer who had been very happy a few days before but who was now very stressed. King asked the minister, "What happened to this farmer, because suddenly he became so stressed and sad?" The minister replied, "This farmer has officially joined the 99 Club." Moral: It is the 99 Club that describes people who have enough to be happy but are never satisfied, saying, "Let me get that one last thing, and then I will be happy for life." Conclusion: in our society, many people believe that once they finish their studies and get a job, they will be happy. After getting married, they will be happy. After having children, they will be happy. And after their children study and get a job, they will be happy. After their children get married, they will be happy. But happiness doesn't come. So, enjoy the present moment with contentment. Possessiveness leads to unhappiness. In all relationships, people say that they love too much, but on a subtle level, they have possessions. The feeling of expectation is hidden beneath possessiveness. Ego is the main culprit that leads to suffering. In every relationship, there are some hidden expectations. Possessiveness is common in relationships, and it leads to unhappiness. Attraction, affection, and love. People often misunderstand the meaning of love, because young adults are influenced by cinema and believe attraction is love. Young adults are attracted to the opposite gender due to hormonal changes, and they also experience affection. They feel physical attraction is love. However, we can categorize love into two broad categories: psychological and spiritual. For the average person, the psychological definition of love is enough. If you sacrifice something for others, then others will definitely sacrifice for you. Newton's third law says, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Others' behavior solely depends on our actions. The spiritual definition of love differs. It is without expectation, without possessiveness. For example, Mira's love for Krishna is 100% surrender. We visit the temple to demand something from God. A small beggar is begging outside the temple, and a big beggar is begging inside the temple. We are unhappy, that's the reason we are going to the temple and church. Either for some gain or confession. What is prayer? In reality, complete surrender is the prayer. Here we see that people have selective surrender to God. Every human being shows a strong interest in his actions. They are not content with what God has given them. They do not even believe in the plan of God and send suggestions to Him for taking care of their family and friends, etc. The universe is perfect, God is absolute, and His plan is also perfect. Acceptance and complete surrender are the keys to true happiness. I heard a story about a king. He felt that he was very kind and a caretaker of the people in his kingdom. One day, a saint took him near the jungle and said, "Break this stone." He had broken the stone, and a frog came out of it. Then that saint asked that king, "Who is taking care of it?" "My mother always told me, whoever created the beak, has also created food grain." Conclusion: one should believe in universal power, complete surrender, and acceptance leading to happiness. Doubts in oneself, as well as the universal plan, lead to misery. Balloon activity. Generally, I conduct this activity with a group of about 40 participants. I used to give a balloon to each participant and ask them to write their names on the balloon. Everybody writes their name on the balloon, and I then instruct a few volunteers to gather all the balloons in another room. Then I instruct everyone to find their named balloons within 3 minutes. Participants were rushing to get their balloons, causing commotion. It was extremely difficult for participants to find their balloons. Most balloons were burst in the process. Again, I give each participant a balloon and ask them to write down their name on the balloon. After they have written their names, I ask a few volunteers to collect the balloons. This time, I will instruct the participant who receives the first balloon to read it and either give it directly to the person whose name is written or announce the name so the person can collect his or her balloon. Second activity was finished in just 1 minute, and everybody got their balloon. There was not a single balloon that burst. Conclusion: the balloon analogy also applies to happiness. Whoever it is needed for, give it to him or her. When your turn comes, it will come back to you from any source. Parents' expectations from children. There are a lot of parents who prepare their children for the world's rat race. They think that their children should study better than their neighbors, friends, and relatives' children. They think their children should understand their own likes, dislikes, and talents, but they wish to force their unfulfilled wishes on them. After conducting workshops with various students, I have noticed that most students have chosen the course based on their parents' and friends' suggestions. What did they want to achieve in life? And why did they choose this path? They did not have the answer to both. Suppose engineering degree students are in their third year and don't follow their interests, they are just like those in the middle of the sea. They can't go back. They have to go forward. How fast we are going is important, but in which direction we are going is also very important. The parents should focus on their children's happiness rather than compare their children to other children, because every individual has a unique set of talents and a unique role to play. As discussed in the chapter on the comparison, all-rounders are not necessary for everyone. For whom do we work? As per Abraham Maslow's theory, we work only to fulfill our needs. It may be basic needs, security and safety needs, belonging needs, esteem needs, or self-actualization needs. Do you believe a social worker can provide social services if they are unhappy with their job or if there is no temptation to go to heaven? There is a hidden need somewhere. Even self-satisfaction is a type of need. Going to a heaven, nirvana, or liberation is a huge need. As far as any type of expectation is concerned, misery is bound to come. All inventions are the result of the mind. Many practices focus on controlling the flickering mind all over the world, but the flickering mind is a sign of something alive. If there is no movement, it is dead or inert. If a river flows towards the ocean, it is heading in the right direction. Similarly, if our actions are in accordance with the universe, we are in motion or flow. There is no need to be concerned about a fluttering mind, simply recognize that it is the nature of the mind. So far, we have been enslaved by the mind. How can enlightenment be attained? One of my friends visited many pilgrimage sites while traveling through 25 countries, and I brought to his attention that there were a few good ones he hadn't seen yet. His mood got spoiled as he clung to seeing these places. In the case of Buddha and Mahavir, their minds were not satisfied with materialistic things, so they wanted to go beyond the mind. The story of master and disciple. Once, a master was traveling with his few disciples in a forest when the sun came over their heads. They wanted to rest, so they sat under a tree. As soon as they sat down, the master instructed one disciple to go and bring water. The disciple took a pot and went to the pond, where many people were taking baths, washing clothes, and soaking buffaloes. The water became dirty. The disciple wondered how he could carry this water for the master, and he returned without water. After that, the master instructed another disciple to bring water. He went near the pond and saw many people taking baths, washing clothes, and bathing buffaloes. He sat down on the bank of the pond until the people's work was completed, waited for a few hours for the mud to settle, then collected clear water from the pond. This disciple has filled the pot and returned to the master. The master asked the disciple, "How do you manage to bring clear water?" The disciple replied, "I was waiting for the mud to settle so that I could collect clear water." The moral of the story: you should avoid taking any decisions if your mind is so disturbed. Instead, just sit quietly and count from 1 to 30 in your mind or observe your natural breath for a few minutes before taking a decision. Every morning, a king would give something to anyone who came in front of his palace. One day, a fakir came in front of his door with a skull bowl. "I am the king of this kingdom, you may bring a large pot so that enough gold coins can be deposited," the king said to fakir. Because the king was angry at seeing fakir's small pot, he ordered the soldiers to fill fakir's bowl with prestigious stones. They began filling the fakir bowl, but it couldn't fill all the stones. Then, the king ordered gold and silver coins, but they were also exhausted. All the treasure became empty, and he surrendered to the fakir. Moral: the human mind is also like that fakir's bowl because it never fills. Whatever we obtain, we are never satisfied because we always expect more. This is the source of misery. Do not struggle with a flickering mind, just observe it. Selfless service can lead to happiness, but I have observed that many Catholic Christians want to do service for Catholics only, they hate the Protestants. Do you feel this is selfless service? Serving someone without regard to caste, creed, or religion is selfless service. I have seen many Jains give donations to temples and charities, but in exchange, they ask for their names to be listed in temples. Do you feel this is selfless service? Certainly not. They just satisfy their egos. A selfless act does not expect any reward for the deed, whether it be in heaven, hell, or moksha. The spiritual teacher from India known for his self-inquiry method, Ramana Maharshi, once remarked, "Your self-realization is the best service you can render to society." Question 1. Write down your expectations from others. Others may be family members, friends, relatives, etc. Expectations can take many forms, including money, praise, respect, honor, publicity, ego satisfaction, and so on. Question 2. Points to ponder, takeaway. Question 3. How you will apply these takeaways in your day-to-day life. $1,000,000 questions. 1. How can I do selfless service? 2. If self is destroyed, then what remains there?